Business Foundations for Mums with me, Kate Butcher, is the podcast to listen to if you are a mum who is ready to launch your business, not sure where to start, or wanting to turn that sideline into something more serious. It will be full of practical tips, mindset advice, and inspirational and honest interviews with mums who are juggling business and motherhood, supporting mums in business to turn your dream into a reality. And welcome to today's episode of Business Foundations for Mums. Today, I wanted to talk to you about procrastination. Procrastination is something I am all too familiar with. I used to refer to myself as the queen of procrastination, and I absolutely, I still can and have the potential to be the queen of procrastination if I let myself be. However, there are a few things that are really important to understand about procrastination, to start to be able to get to the root of it, to figure out why it's happening for you. And once you're able to figure out why it's happening, then you can start to work through it and find ways of avoiding procrastinating. And understanding is, as I say, the main focus of it. Procrastination, it's a really common challenge. And so many people really, really struggle with procrastination when trying to work through tasks, when trying to work towards goals. And despite having every intention of being really productive and completing a task, we often find ourselves putting things off. We find ourselves being distracted by all sorts of things, games on the phone, little red dots of notifications, Facebook scrolling, emails. Often even I find if I'm really frightened of a task, if something's really getting in my way, if I'm really procrastinating over something, I might even do some housework. And that really is saying something, because those who know me know that I'm not the greatest fan of doing any kind of housework. So whilst there are always going to be external distractions and things that can actually contribute to procrastination, it's also really about looking at the mindset blocks that are really causing the biggest problem in terms of our productivity. So we're going to explore today some of the key mindset blocks that contribute to procrastination, and we're going to look at some strategies and ways to overcome those. So the first one is fear of failure. Fear is something that you might have heard me talk about quite a lot recently. It's something I'm becoming more and more conscious of in myself, something I've always been conscious of, but I'm delving a lot deeper into that at the moment. And one of the main reasons why people procrastinate is because of that fear of failure. We worry that we're not going to live up to expectation. We worry that people might criticize what it is that we do. So we just avoid starting it or finishing it or doing it. So overcoming this mindset block of fear, it needs to have a shift in perspective. We need to understand what the fear is. We need to understand why we're so afraid of failing, and understand that we are afraid of failing. And once we start to understand it and actually push past it, we can then embrace that fear and work and use that to our advantage to push through the fear. So remembering also that progress is way more important than anything else. The next main mindset block when it comes to procrastination is perfectionism. Believe it or not, it took me a little while to get my head around that. When somebody first said to me, it's your perfectionism that's causing the procrastination. And I discussed it with my husband, and he said, well, that's a load of rubbish, because if you were a perfectionist, then you would make sure that getting the job done perfectly was a priority and you wouldn't procrastinate over it. But actually, perfectionism is something that means that we have such high expectations of ourselves that we're worried we're not going to live up to those expectations. Often those expectations of perfection are unrealistic. I mean, who is perfect? Nobody. We're not perfect. We're not perfect humans. And most things that we do will not be perfect. Perfectionism is an unrealistic expectation. And the desire for everything to be absolutely perfect can lead us to procrastinate, because we're waiting for the perfect moment to start something. We're waiting until it's absolutely perfect before we release it. We're making whatever it is we're producing or creating, whether it's content for social media, whether it's a product that we're making to sell, we're not willing to let that cross the boundary and go out there into the public domain until it's perfect. So we end up procrastinating. And the best way to overcome this block of perfectionism is to strive for excellence rather than perfectionism. Excellence is realistic. Something can be excellent without being perfect. But also look at the small steps that it takes to get to where you want to get to. Take it one step at a time, break it into chunks, and focus on the progress that you're making step by step rather than the minor details all the way along the way or the overall final perfect result. Another area that can cause procrastination is lack of clarity. Procrastination thrives in an environment of uncertainty. If we don't have a clear vision of what we need to do and how we need to do it, then it becomes really easy to put the task off because we don't really know what we're doing and we've got to figure it all out first. So effective planning and goal setting is absolutely essential. And it's about getting those larger tasks, those larger goals, and breaking them down into much smaller and more manageable tasks, prioritizing and making a plan, making a structured plan of how to get from A to B step by step along the route. Clarity really empowers us to take action, and it eliminates the overwhelm that often leads to procrastination as well. Another big block when it comes to procrastination is overwhelm or indecision. And when we're feeling overwhelmed, there's just so many things on our to-do list. There's so many things that we know need to get done. There's so many tasks that we could be working on that actually that decision making can become really paralyzing. So when we've got a huge to-do list, when we've got multiple options, and it's really tempting to delay doing anything at all, overcoming this mindset block is really useful by using strategies such as time blocking, where you allocate specific time blocks to different tasks and then make sure that you stick to each and every task at the time that you have set aside for it. Another really good way to get past this is to look at the eat the frog technique. And this is a book by Brian Tracy, which I highly recommend. Eat That Frog is about doing the most challenging task first, finding a task that will make the biggest difference, but that you are putting off the most, the one that brings the most fear, the one that causes the most problems, the one that's the most challenging, and then doing that one first. Get it out of the way, get it done first thing, and then all of the other tasks that come after it seem like nothing in comparison to the big task that you have already done. Another really, really good strategy, if you've got a really, really long to-do list, is to sit down, brain dump everything, get it all out of your head onto paper. And once it's all out on paper, then sit down and prioritize your list. Give everything that is top priority an A, those things that just have to be done today. And then the things that are really important, but maybe aren't an absolute priority, the second level tasks, give them a B. And then we move on to the other tasks and they get a C on the list. And you work through starting with the A level tasks. So potentially eating that frog, taking the most challenging of those A tasks first, working your way through that. And once you've got through those tasks, putting them in some kind of priority order makes a really big difference and helps you to move through that overwhelm and that indecision. Another thing that can really contribute to that procrastination is lack of motivation. It's a real struggle sometimes when you're not feeling motivated, you're not feeling inspired, you're not feeling enthusiastic, and it just becomes really, really difficult to get started and get that task done. So a really good way to look at this is to find ways that really fuel your motivation. So set yourself some really meaningful goals, goals that really contribute to what it is that you really want. Have a vision board. Visualize what it is you really, really want for your future and look at the goals that are going to get you closest to that vision and that future that you're dreaming about. And once you've got something really positive to think about and really positive to drive you forward and to dream about and to think about, then you can start to set an action plan and come up with what you need to do to get those tasks done and to push out of that procrastination. Celebrating small wins along the way is absolutely essential as well, because that really encourages that motivation, it encourages that enthusiasm, and it keeps that momentum going for you as well. Procrastination is something that a lot of us really struggle with a lot of the time. As I said, I've been there so many times and I still have to work on my procrastination on a daily basis. But it's something that's absolutely possible to push past and to get through. particularly if we really identify which mindset issues it is that are really holding us back. Procrastination can be a massive challenge. And as I said, I have been there. I absolutely understand it. And I still have to battle procrastination every single day. But using some of those tools and techniques that I've mentioned can be a really, really good way to push through that procrastination. Identifying the underlying mindset cause that is causing you to procrastinate is absolutely essential to allow you to figure out the best strategy, the best way for you to move through that procrastination and push forward, push past that perfectionism, overcome that overwhelm, figure out what your clarity is, find your motivation, whatever it may be. But remember that it is an ongoing process. You can't just work on it once or twice and then find that all of a sudden you don't procrastinate anymore. I said I'm the queen of procrastination. I'm still pretty good at it, but I no longer think I hold that title, being the queen of procrastination. So hopefully with some of the tips that you've learned from today, you will be able to push past that procrastination as well and figure out a way to make your dreams come true. Thank you for joining us here at Business Foundations for Mums. You can find all of our episodes, show notes and blog posts at businessfoundationsformums.co.uk, and you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook.